to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money.
I love that new intro. Welcome. Isn't that nice? Hey, okay. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, we are unpacking a topic that hits close to home for many. Why some men stay in relationships even when they're no longer deeply attracted to their partners. Today, we're going to examine the psychology behind this phenomenon, the societal expectations that influence it, and the long-term emotional cost of staying in a relationship without genuine attraction. Today, we are joined by beautiful queens on this panel. We have Nomalanga. She goes by the Marriage, Motherhood, Money Making M3. Are you a coach, strategist, conversationalist? We have Dr. Alicia. She's a therapist, social worker, and advocate for healthy relationships. And we have Dr. Sabrina, who is a financial queen. That's what we're going to do.
I didn't mean to leave you hanging. I was trying to get to
She's the queen of money. And so welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today, Booker and Deborah. I already see you guys joining us in the chat. So the title of this conversation is My Wife Thinks We're Soulmates and I Think I Settled. Why Black men stay with women they're not attracted to. So before we get into the video, how would I ask this question? I'm trying to figure out, I don't want to ask it, have you ever stayed with somebody past your attraction, or do you think somebody has ever stayed with you past their attraction? So I won't put us on the defense. I'll say, have you ever stayed, Nomalanga, with anybody past your attraction to them? Like the attraction has waned, yet you're still there. You're on mute, I think.
I'm going to make it a little...
I can hear you now.
My mic is on. Yeah, you can hear me? Yeah. I'm going to make it a little less personal and say that I think if you're going to be in any long-term relationship, that's part of the package. The attraction's going to go in and out.
Okay.
And that's just how it goes.
Okay. Dr. Sabrina, have you ever settled or stayed past the season of wanting and desiring a person?
Well, I'm going to make it personal, okay? Because I've been married for 30 years. I'm just going to be real with you. You do not stay married to somebody for 30 years and that warm and fuzzy feeling that we call, quote unquote, attraction is always there. And I don't think that just because I'm not feeling him means I'm settling somehow. Two separate things. So you can't do it this long. And always feel warm and fuzzy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Alicia, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so what did we all just hear? We just heard the reality of marriage. Marriage comes in stages. And yeah, when you first meet somebody, I'm almost certain you are attracted to that person on some level, in some way. Not one person can give you any and everything that you're always looking for. That's not realistic. So yeah, during the initial stage, the attraction is stronger. During the conflict phase of a relationship, that's normal. Everybody goes through it. Maybe the attraction wanes. Maybe during the recommitment phase, the attraction goes up and down. This is what we're talking about, the reality of marriage. Yes.
So I think what all of you guys are saying is that when you enter into a relationship with someone, the attraction is there. When you have a relationship with that person, the attraction may come and go, right? But I think you are still in it with that person. If we're doing what this gentleman says, and we're going to get to the video in a hot second, he went into it, it sounds like, thinking that he settled. Like, she thinks that I'm her soulmate, but I feel like I settled for this relationship. I think that that's a different dynamic than walking into it already like I'm prepared to go through the ups and downs with this person versus maybe I can't find nobody else. Maybe I'm not gonna, maybe I just want to be married. She seems cool. So let's just do it. So in her eyes, man, I love this man. And this man he's everything I ever dreamed about. And in his eyes, he's like, well, I'm married. I got to, we got kids or whatever the case might be. You guys tell me in the chat, have you guys ever settled in a relationship? Or go ahead, Nomalanga.
I was gonna say, I think that's what he's saying now. And oftentimes when you talk to couples, if they're going through a rough patch, they'll say things that are very different than the time when they're actually feeling in love or they're feeling good about the relationship. So his recollection may not actually be that good because most men don't actually marry women they're not attracted to. Men are different from women in the sense that the first thing that makes them gravitate to a woman is that initial attraction, and then they take it from there. Whereas women look for other things, and sometimes attraction or physical attraction is part of it, but it's not always the first thing. So sometimes I think we don't recall things correctly down the line.
Go ahead, Dr. Alicia, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I mean, Nomalanga, thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. This is a moment of growth for any man who has come to this decision. This is a moment of growth, and he needs to reflect on this. He needs to take a step back and say, hold on, I'm coming to these conclusions because maybe perhaps I'm having an issue with my wife about this particular topic right now. And I'm starting to see her, not just in her initial attraction, I'm starting to see the color of who and what she is, her flaws and her strengths. And this is a growth opportunity for any, not necessarily any man, but any person who's in a relationship with someone. This is where you have to kind of reflect on this and say, what do I need to learn from this? Well, how do I need to grow from this? Because knowing that this is a normal process in a relationship. So it's a great point for him to articulate his feelings, but it's also a moment where he can grow in and of himself. So his relationship is a reflection of what's happening inside. And so we'll get into that, I'm sure, a little bit more. So, but thank you, LaNée, for calling on me.
Yeah, no worries. Let's go to video. We're going to go to a video and then we're going to come back. We're going to keep, this is going to be an interesting conversation. I already know it's going to be. So let's go to video and we'll be right back.
You in love with your wife? No, me either. What? No, I'm not in love with my wife. Why? I don't even know her.
What are you doing? Why?
This is our 8th. Hold on, we got married in 2016. This is year number 8. September 8th, we'll be married 8 years. No.
So let me get this straight. They're trying to ban TikTok, but they're not doing anything about these men and these microphones. Look how these men just casually betray the wives they stood in front of God, family, and everybody else. The one they promised to love, honor, and cherish. They can just casually confess publicly to not meaning any of it. This is what I mean when I say, don't think that a man loves you because he had a baby with you, loves you because he married you, love because he's with you. Like, if he didn't love me, why is he with me? It could be from any number of reasons. It doesn't have to be love. I think it was about a year ago, men were being asked, would you rather cheat on your wife or snitch on your homeboy?
I'm about to cheat on her. One goes down, we're all going down. Oh, that's light work. I'm gonna definitely cheat on my girl. Cheating right away. Immediately. Never snitching on my homies. I love my brothers too much.
See, they have no problem talking about how much they love their homies and how they would never betray them. Some men only have the capacity to love, honor, and cherish and be loyal to other men. Some men feel like women don't deserve their love. That man just confessed to being married for 8 years, and after being there with him through richer for poorer, in sickness and in health, through good time and in bad, she still hasn't earned his love. But I bet he got some homeboys that he loves. He keeps saying the quiet part out loud. Even marriage doesn't mean they love you.
I feel like that might have been a snippet. I need the whole conversation. I feel like that he was about to say something else or something before, because I heard him say we don't even know each other, as if to say we're still on this road of knowledge. So I kind of feel like I need to know the other piece of it. However, never is it okay to be hanging out with your homeboys talking about I don't love my wife. That's my 2 cents. Dr. Alicia, we'll start with you. What were your thoughts in watching that video?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Coming up on 8 years, that's the 7-year itch. And again, it's great that he articulated how he felt. And maybe what he's saying is that we don't know each other very well because there's disconnection. And if he wants to really commit himself to the relationship, then perhaps he needs to make the effort to reconnect with his wife, because I'm certain you think you know somebody, but there's always a way for you to reconnect with somebody to continue to learn about who and what your partner is. So maybe he's feeling lonely, and maybe he's feeling disconnected, and this is a normal reaction to that. I mean, how many times can you be in a marriage with somebody and inevitably feel hurt by something that they've done and something that they've said, and just walk around with that pain and hurt? That's going to disconnect. So perhaps this is a beautiful opportunity for him to realize this. Hopefully his wife will see this and sound the alarm and get to a place where they can start having real conversations, not just ships passing in the night, which, by the way, when you have a mortgage, you have a car note, you got children, you got extended family, all of these things to juggle, it puts a lot of pressure on couples. And so they need to carve out some time to reconnect with each other, because the baby is going to need you, but you also need to make time for each other. So I think it's a great starting point. I hope his wife sees that, and I hope they take this as an opportunity to grow closer together. They have that choice to do that.
I hope his wife sees that and says, don't you ever get on national television, YouTube, or any video talking crazy about me in public like that again. You hear me? I do hope she says it, but maybe not like that. But I hope she pull him to the side and say, yo, sir, come here. King of mine, love of my life.
Anything,
not talk about being crazy like that.
Yeah. I want to say something to that. If anything, that speaks volumes that his wife, who he's married to, doesn't know what's going on inside of him, but he's willing and feel comfortable saying it publicly. That means there's something behind closed doors that's not being done that needs to be done. Maybe,
and again, we saw a clip. We don't know what happened.
But the fact that he is more comfortable saying this out loud signals to us that he's not comfortable saying it one-on-one with his wife. Because if he was, he wouldn't need to say it. He wouldn't need to articulate it publicly. That means what's happening between them, that these conversations are not being had when they need to be had. It's a cry for help. I don't see it as pathological. I just see it as it is. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to try to understand so that you can come up with a great strategy. The strategy for him and his wife is to bring it back and say, you two are not having the conversations that you need to have. And this is a signal that these conversations aren't being had because he's talking publicly about it.
Okay. So before we go to commercial, because we're getting ready to go to commercial, Nomalanga, what are your thoughts before we go to commercial?
I think he's garbage. He's trash for saying that out loud in public space. And I think that some things, when you say them, you can't unsay them, especially when he's humiliated her by saying it. And God knows, how many people have heard that. That's awful. Do I think it's good for people to be truthful and to say things? Yes, maybe to his homeboys in a closed space, maybe to a therapist, to his dad or whoever. But I think him and his friend are total trash for just outside of a closed place saying that and letting everybody hear him say that about his own wife. I'm disgusted.
Dr. Sabrina, what are your thoughts?
And I'm sure he will probably say she's the problem.
Okay. We're going to go to commercial. We're going to come back. This is going to be an interesting conversation. Let me say this before we go to commercial. This is not a man bashing conversation, because it goes both ways. Women settle for men the same way men settle for women. People do settle in relationships. We know that this really happens, but we're talking about what do we do? How do we solve it? How do we communicate? How do we not? How do we work through these things? Okay, so it's not a man bashing. That's just the conversation for today. We'll go to commercial. We'll be right back.
It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com.
So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com. Have these conversations. Don't settle. And don't be settled for. Okay. So, all right. I believe we're going to go to another video. Producer, let me know. Are we about to go to another video? I think we're going to another video.
I read a story about a woman who was out to dinner with her husband and some friends. They're having a few drinks, and she goes to the bathroom. But on her way back, she overhears one of her husband's friends say how the wife is basically a placeholder, and he chose her because things did not work out with the real love of his life, which is this other woman that he had a previous relationship with. And so obviously the wife is like shocked, stunned, trying to process this. And when she confronts her husband later on and says, "Is this true?" He didn't deny it. He just says, "Let's call the friend John." Well, John has a big mouth. And before you throw stones, I want you to know how common this is. How common it is for people to make life-changing, life-altering decisions with other people's lives from a place of practicality, settling, instead of a place of genuine love and desire to build a life and a partnership with somebody. And while I don't think it's healthy to spend the rest of your life pining for a love that has been lost, but I do think it's important when you engage somebody from the prospect of building a life, a future, or a family, that you are upfront about your feelings. Because when you're not, you are doing one of the worst things that you can ever do to another human being, which is rob them of their choice. Because there are some people who are practical minded that will say, yeah, it's not a love match. I don't have burning passion for you, but I think we can make this work. I think we can build a life and we can be relatively happy in doing it. But when you don't do that, when friends and family know one truth and your partner understands a different truth, it is so hurtful. Because more times than not, if that person had known those feelings up front, they may have made a different choice, but they didn't have the opportunity because that information was not disclosed. And so if you are going to move forward in love and romance from a place of practicality, of might as well, of I'm not deeply in love with you, but we can make it work, that's fine. But be upfront about it so that the person you're engaging with is going into this scenario eyes wide open instead of being blindsided thinking it's one thing when it's really quite another.
Listen, that is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And again, I know the topic says my wife thinks we're soulmates, but this could happen man to woman, woman to man. I know more than a couple of women who have I need to get out of this situation. I got these kids and I need to go ahead. This man is interested in me. I'm going to go ahead and marry him. And I'm just going to marry him, right? Protection and covering all those things. He's head over heels. And she's like, I'm protected, I'm covered, and I got some kids. But I know men, again, the same thing. It's a placeholder. I didn't get the woman that I wanted, but this is a good woman. She does good. She takes care of me. She takes care of the kids. We straight. But it's just, we just live in life together. What do you say to that, Nomalanga? I know you have different views on relationships and whatnot, especially coming from your perspective, where I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, but I know that the relationship is different over there. A man can come to a father and say, "Hey, I want to marry your daughter." Does that daughter have to be interested in that man? Does that daughter have to love that man before going into a relationship with that man, or is it my father said I have to marry this man, and then that could be on what we see on TV, right? This does not.
Yeah, that's TV.
This is not coming to America where you gonna marry this the man you're gonna marry.
And just so we're clear, arranged marriages have a higher success rate than love marriages. So I'll just put that out there. But I will say, in my culture, nobody forces marriage on anybody else. But she said practicality, and then she said settling. And I really hate the way that people have started to use the word settling almost as if it means shortchanging. Because it isn't, because everybody settles. Nobody's ever going to be 100% what you want or what you dreamed of or whatever it is. And at some point, you're going to have some fundamentals and some deal breakers and then compromise on some things. And that's settling, and that's being a grown-up, and that's making adult decisions, and that's thinking long-term. I just don't understand why we have this word settling as if it's such an awful thing. There are people who die never having married, never having settled, because they wouldn't settle for the best that they can get at the time, based on what's important to them and what's important to their partner. The other thing that I want to say is, can we please make a distinction between marriage and just all these situations and relationships and these other things? Because it's a big difference. There's a big difference. One is supposed to be forever, and others are you can just hop in and out and do whatever you want.
I'm just talking. My mute button popped up. Dr. Sabrina, what are your questions? What are your comments around this phenomenon, this conversation?
I agree.
I can't hear you. Is it just me?
I agree. Let's put this in perspective. I have a girlfriend who battled cancer a few years ago. She lost her hair. She lost her boobs. She lost a lot of the things that men find attractive. So does the husband then look at her and say, well, I'm just settling. I'm not attracted to her anymore. She's not the person I married. Well, for those of us that are married, I've been to a lot of weddings, ceremonies, planning to go to one in September. I remember my little small ceremony 30 years ago, but I remember a lot of things about those, but I don't ever remember during the vow exchange any words about, I will stay with you as long as I am attracted to you, as long as you have plastic surgeries to enhance yourself and keep yourself, attractive. Nobody ever says that. I mean, because there are times when you're gonna be your best, look your best, feel your best, and then there are times when you're not. And that's what marriage is. That's what stick to itness is. That's what, you vow to do. And I think it's so superficial for people to, profess this, love for a person or interest in a person only when they are quote unquote attracted. And for those that feel that way, I'm here to tell you, don't get married. Just stay in whatever relationship in and out you're in, but don't try to do marriage, because it's not gonna work.
So you bring up a good point. I think attraction is like one piece of it. I think that there's because I think people are marrying people that they're attracted to, but they may still not feel like it's their soulmate. They may not still feel, they may still not like them. I have a friend right now. This man loves this lady. He loves this lady. And I swear I don't think this lady likes him. And I don't know. It's not my place to say, but she did not want to set a date. She did not want to set a date. 2-3 years has gone by. Her parents came to town and he was like, let's do it. And she was like, all right. So she did it, but it wasn't her. This is a woman. This you take initiative. This is your fiance supposed to get married. Got married. Up until that time, the whole time up to that time, for 3 years, I'm talking to him like, again, I'm trying to be a friend. I'm not going to tell you not to do it. So I'm talking. Just, take your time, make sure, maybe do some counseling. She don't want to do counseling. Got married. And I swear, I'm not going to go into specifics because that person might know who I'm talking about, but I swear this lady does not like him. And she is married to him. I swear they have a kid. He takes care of their kid, their kid, and her kid. She got no support for this man, no kind of way, shape, fashion, or form, but he just wants to be married. And so he has decided, I'll just deal with what I got. But I know he is not happy. Dr. Alicia, what do you say to somebody who, what happens when you know this person is settling?
Yeah, I think clearly there's something missing in the relationship. And I think that it's understandable that if you're in a relationship and there's something missing, and maybe you have tried on some level to fix it and it's not working, it's totally understandable that you would then start to fantasize about, oh, if I was with this one person, maybe I wouldn't have these set of issues. And maybe if I was with this one person, it's a normal response, I think, to some of the issues in your current relationship that's not being dealt with, not being managed effectively. It's just a spewing. It's like your cup is already full, and that's what kind of overloads. It kind of spills out where you get into this fantasy world. Oh, hopefully if I was with this guy I dated 10 years ago, things would be so much better. There's no way of knowing that. And if it was meant to be, you'd still be with that person. So clearly it is not a relationship that's suitable for you. But I think if I were talking to someone, I would bring the conversation back to what is currently missing in this relationship that is causing you to fantasize about somebody else. Because I think that we could start to discuss those elements and try to bring those into reality, not a fantasy, but into reality in the current marriage. And I really do think it does take two people to be committed to make a marriage work through issues, through not getting all of your needs met. And part of it is, if you lay it out, here are my needs that aren't being met, and you have a conversation about some of those needs can be met. Some of them, maybe they can't be met. Maybe you need to realize there's no such thing as the perfect marriage. There's no such thing as the perfect relationship. And then maybe you need to come to terms with, perhaps you're putting too much into this marriage that's not even realistic in the first way. Why would you look to somebody else to give you happiness? You need to find it on your own. It's not realistic that one person is going to give you everything that you've ever looked for. Perhaps it's a signal that you need to look at how you need to come into this marriage, in the relationship, as a whole person. And it's a sign, like I said before, you need to grow. It's a signal for growth. Oh, wait, LaNée, you're muted.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm trying to follow executive producers. Mute yourself, take stuff off, put yourself on. I want to come back and talk about that, because we're going to come back and talk about it. We're going to go deeper. Let's take a commercial and we'll come back in a hot second. All right, at least I think we're taking a commercial.
I know. You're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us, so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Soon as today. So I want to dive deeper into this conversation that we're having around settling and or not being attracted to your spouse and or marrying somebody when you know that this is not the right person. They are a placeholder for somebody else. So you're already in this situation. Me and our executive producer were talking the other day about as you get older, what you want can change. Actually, we had this conversation last week. We were talking about 40, I think it was like 47% of women between the ages of 25 and 45 will be childless and unmarried and childless. And Dr. Boyce shared the video, and Dr. Alicia actually put a comment on it that said, "Don't shame people," or something to that effect. But as normally it's a clip, so it's out of context, right? And so there's no shame in getting to a certain age and not being married unless you want to be, right? So if you want to be married or you want to be in a relationship, then you have to mature and you have to grow, and things may change. As things change, I don't necessarily think it is settling as much as it is maturing to say, this is what I want, right? When we're younger, what we think we want is one thing. I gave the example of height. I'm 5'9" barefoot. When I was young, I wore 3 to 4 inch heels. So I'm a good 6'1", 6'2" in my heels. So you have to be a certain height so that I can feel womanly. As I have matured and grown, I am still 5'9" and I don't wear heels. So I can lower that. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be right here. We could be eye to eye. So I think that there are some things that we, like Nomalanga said, some things we consider settling. I'm not settling for a short man. Well, I'm not settling. My lifestyle has changed, right? The things that I require has changed. But in this conversation that we're having here today, we're talking about someone that is going into a relationship with somebody else, knowing that they are the only person who knows that this other person is not their person. So the person who is getting married or the person who is going into the situation is of the assumption that we are on the same page. You are my soulmate. We're in this together. But really, you have a belief or an idea that I am not up to par, that I am not your first choice, that I am not the person that you actually wanted to be with. And therefore, that's where the settling comes in. Okay. So I know all three of you guys are married, but so let's flip the script on you. We'll start with you, Nomalanga. Let's say your husband says, I love you, but you were not my first choice. I wanted Susie, but Susie wouldn't have me. And so you were the next best thing. What would you say? How would you feel about it? Is that something that you can make work?
The thing is, I am his best choice because Susie wasn't a choice for him. Neither is Naomi Campbell. I mean, I'm just aging myself because I don't even know who the hot chicks are right now. I don't know who's hot right now, Rihanna or whatever. He can't have Rihanna or whatever. I'm what's realistic for him, and I'm the best that he can do within the confines of what he can do. So no, I don't have a problem with that. And the other thing is sometimes there is like physical attraction and you know you're very physically attracted to a person, but you know that there's no longevity. It's just an attraction and it's like, oh, that's that's the person I want, I really like or whatever, all of that. But again, with maturity, you can feel hot for somebody and you know it'll blow over. And you know that when you're making a decision where you're supposed to stick it out for the rest of your life, raise children with that person, make major decisions, take care of aging parents, be broke, have money, make whatever, all of those things. When you put all of that together and you picked me because you thought of all those things, I am your best choice. I don't really think that this whole thing of, well, I like so-and-so and I'm so hot for so-and-so, I couldn't have her, so now I'm going to settle for you. No, I'm also settling for you too, because there are things about you that, they're not that great, but the things that I love about you and that I appreciate about you are the things that I think can work in the long run. I think you can raise children with me. I think that we can do things together that will last. I think we'll have meaningful memories, all of that. So I'm sorry. I just don't like that word settling. I actually just don't like it because it just shows that people don't understand what a long-term relationship is and people don't understand what marriage is and what building a family is.
Okay, Dr. Sabrina, what about you? What do you think that men and women look at settling different? Because when I listen to Nomalanga and I listen to Dr. Alicia, it's lollipops and unicorns. Like it's gonna be okay. We're not settling. But men think that, like, as a woman, we know, or we don't feel quite that way. We're getting protection, covering and doing all the things. But men can potentially think differently if they thought that Susie was the best that they could do. Even as the woman, we know. Well, I think Anonymous said it. If you could have had Susie or Rihanna or Naomi Campbell, you would have, but you couldn't. So you got me, boo. But as a man, as the lady said, man, I didn't get Susie. What do you think?
So I'm looking at these comments, and I see Black Lexicon says, you spoke it in the first person, but the other truth is the third person that you want changes to. And so that begs the question, maybe that was the person that you thought you wanted, but they will evolve. I like to say evolve. They will evolve as well, throughout life. And who's to say in which direction? So it is one of those things where I think we have to really, really think about this long-term, not this short-term thing, but these long-term relationships a little bit differently. And again, to Dr. Alicia's point, there is no perfect relationship. There's no perfect, we got these ideals in our head, but the reality is we're not perfect people. And I think that's what we don't do. We look at other people and we look at them in terms of, maybe I'm settling and all these things. But what about us? What about our flaws? What about the fact that we are not necessarily where we are headed? When the person finds us, we may be a little bit just over a hot mess. Both of us may be there. But as time goes on, we have experiences, both good and bad. We have our differences, we work through them, and we become a better version of ourselves. And so I think we have to give each other grace. But to answer your question, I'm gonna go biblical here for a second. Do you guys remember the story of Jacob and was it Rachel? When it Rachel that he was in love with, and because he was a conster, his uncle Laban, if I remember his name was, he kind of tricked him as well. He told him he was going to let him have Rachel, and Jacob only had to work for 7 years or so for Rachel. And then on wedding night, he found out he didn't get Rachel. He got her big sister, because that was the order in which things happen. The big sister gets married first, not the little sister. So then he loved his woman so much that he worked another 7 years, to get her hand in marriage. But of course, Leah, the older sister, felt some kind of way because she knew who the love of Jacob's life was, which was Rachel, and it was not her. And because of that, I think we probably still have some tension in the world today, but we're not here to talk about all that. We're going to bring it on back to the topic at hand. So yeah, people can feel and probably will feel very slighted to know that they were thought of or are being thought of as the second choice, or that, their mates, quote unquote, settled for them. But I think, again, we have to really understand who we are and where we are. None of us are perfect. We're all becoming, and we all need to extend a level of grace to each other.
Both of you and Nomalanga brought up some really good points. And in the chat, I want y'all to see, I was going to tell y'all to tell me if you have settled, but we're not going to have you put your business out there like that. So I'm going to ask it differently. Do you know somebody, man or woman, who has settled or is in a relationship where they settled? Or talk to me in the chat. Let me know about this. You don't have to tell your story, because we know we don't want your relationship put on blast. But what I will say is, you made a good point. I've talked about, and the dude I date right now, he laughs at me because I always talk about my high school sweetheart, because he literally was my high school sweetheart. Like, this man pursued me in church. We met, like, the whole little love story. I dated him my senior year, went off to college to play football. I saw him in college, and I just knew I was going to be with this man for the rest of my life. So even when I dated, I was like, no, we can date, we can kick it, but I know this is the man that I'm going to be with. We had this little thing that said, as long as you don't have a kid, we can be together. I will be with you as long as you don't have a kid. I don't care what you do. Go out, play football, do all the things. As long as you don't have a kid, we can come back together. And then I had a kid. But I didn't say if I had a kid. I said if you had a kid. So I didn't know he held me to that same statute. But that's not the point. The point is, as we got older, he changed. When he didn't make it into the NFL, mentally, spiritually, he got different. And he started doing some different things. And the route that life took him turned him into like a little white boy. Now I don't do white boys. Even though you're a black man, I don't do the white boy thing. And so whenever we would kick it and hang out together again, I would just be like, it just wasn't. Ugh. And so even though I still have much admiration for him, and I still talk about him to this day as my high school sweetheart, there is no attraction there anymore. I still wish the best for him. I still wish well for him, but I don't feel like the dude I talk to right now, I'm settling for. And I told him this the other day. I don't think, because his view is, if it doesn't work out with the person you were supposed to be with, then you end up with somebody else. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. If it didn't work out with that person, it wasn't supposed to work out with that person. Because when I look back at him today, it wouldn't have worked. My son's father, who I love dearly, one of my best friends, it wouldn't have worked. And I am who I am today, and I get to be who I am today and all my glory and flaws and whatnot. And we match perfectly today and communicate well today because of our experiences and how we've gotten to here. And I told him, I was like, I'm so glad it didn't work with anybody else, because the way that it works with you is so wonderful that I don't feel like I settle. We got flaws, we got things we got to deal with, we got things we got to go through. We just went through this assessment the other day. He was like, you're looking for a perfect man. You need him to have these 22 things. And I was like, well, read the list to me. You do that. You do that. So out of 22 things, you're 19. He was like, yeah, but I wasn't these 19 when you met me. True that. He was like, this is what you have helped me to become. This is what you brought out of me. This is what we built together. And I was like, okay, come through, LaNée. Okay. But I get what you guys are saying, right? Sometimes it's not selling. Sometimes it's building. Sometimes it's nurturing. Sometimes it's growing together. Sometimes it's communicating about what you like, what you don't like, what you need, what you don't need. And then filling in those ticks. Because when we first started, he was like a 6, but now you had 19 out of 22. We getting there. We getting somewhere. But that's almost perfect. I just talked a lot. Let me check the chat. I think we're going to go to a commercial. Are we going to a commercial? Or we're going to go to commercial. We're going to come back. I'm going to let Dr. Alicia answer, and then we're going to go to stats. We'll be right back.
Are you a Black business owner looking to expand your reach? Well, has Fly Nubian Money got good news for you? We are building a Black business directory to connect you with customers who need your services. And here is the best part. It is absolutely free. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. Send us your business name. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what services you offer, your website address, and your contact information. That's it. Together, we are going to build and circulate the Black dollar. Get listed today and start connecting with people who are probably already looking for you.
All right, Dr. Alicia, what are your thoughts before we go to our stats?
Oh, LaNée, I really thank you for sharing that story, because it really illustrates the fact that we're all on our journey. We all have a journey. And that guy you dated in high school, his only purpose for you was to open your heart up, to the possibility of a real thing. It wasn't meant to be. And I think that's how we need to look at all of our past loves, that it ended when it needed to end, and that you've learned your lesson and you can carry that with you going forward, not thinking backwards. It's not good to step backwards into any past relationship. It's always great to go forward. And I want to say, I love this whole thing about Jacob that you brought up in the Bible. I have an alternative interpretation of that, is that when you're in a relationship, you need to think about what you're married to, because it seems like some of us are married to this idea about what marriage needs to be based on this fantasy, things that aren't real, and that we think we're going to be married to one thing, but when we get into a marriage or a relationship, we need to start becoming married to the reality of the imperfections, the reality that sometimes you want to show up better to your relationship. Maybe your partner wants to show up better, and you stay committed to each other through these hard times. Maybe that is what we need to be more married to. Marriage to me means the ideas that you adhere yourself to. So think about the thoughts and the feelings that you have about a relationship, and think about what idea you are married to. And that will manifest in your current relationship. So I think that we do need to look at that. LaNée, girl, you know, don't think I don't know their voice. My husband voice is a master at putting clips together. So I totally understand that to me, he is like the social media extraordinaire. And I know when he puts clips together, he knows how to put it together to spark beautiful debates online. So I was more interacting with the boys more than I am with you, because we do that with each other. So just let us know that's how we are. That's our dynamic, you know, because he ain't off the hook at all. So I think that's really interesting. But let's see, what else was I going to say? I was going to say a few things about commitment. And but that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is to think about, are we married to a fantasy about relationships, or are we going to be married to the reality that you have married somebody despite their flaws, and that person has married you despite your flaws, and you're two flawed individuals deciding to manage whatever relationship problems you have, and that maybe, as Jacob did, you need to be married to that reality and not a fantasy. So I think that's the biggest thing for today.
This is such a good conversation. Let's go to some stats. Let's look at some things. All right. So men versus women staying in relationships. Research shows men are about twice as likely as women to remain in a relationship when they're no longer physically or emotionally attracted to their partner. That is actually a true statement. Social conditioning. Studies suggest men often stay due to societal expectations around loyalty, stability, and fear of stigma from ending a relationship, while women are more likely to leave when attraction fades. Marriage dissatisfaction. According to the National Survey of Family Growth, roughly 15 to 20% of married men report staying in relationships where emotional or physical attraction is low. Impact on mental health. Staying in an unfulfilling relationship can increase stress, anxiety, and depression, particularly for men who feel trapped by social norms. And then the attraction gap. Studies suggest initial physical or emotional attraction declines naturally, but men are more likely to prioritize other factors like security and loyalty over passion. Men are 2 times more likely than women to stay in a relationship with someone they aren't deeply attracted to. So, and men ask for less than women. So let's see, women initiate about 69 to 70% of divorces, while men initiate around 30 to 31%. I've been having this conversation a lot, actually. I ask it, why do men stay longer than women? Like, why is it that a man will stay in a relationship that is not healthy longer than a woman? My friend says, because women prioritize happiness and men prioritize loyalty, being a provider, and things of that nature. Dr. Alicia, you're shaking your head. No. Why? No. First, wait. First in the chat, let me know your thoughts on those stats and what I just said. Let me know what you think about the man versus the woman dynamics and staying in a relationship. Tell us what you think in the chat. Go ahead, Dr. Alicia. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah. These men aren't really married. I mean, the status of marriage, and that was the point I was going to bring up. Wrote it down, and I'm glad we talked about this, about arranged marriages being that they stay together. That it depends on how you define it, right? How do you define marriage? Where I'm sitting as a therapist, marriage is a state of mind. It is not a legal status. Okay, so I think we should separate legal status from the state of mind. So when we talk about, let's talk about the state of mind. For a lot of legally married men, they're divorced. You know, they are legally married, but there is really no mental marriage with that other person. So there's a lot of men who just say, well, I'm married, I'm committed, I pay the bills. You're not committed. There are a lot of men who have the legal status of marriage, and they're not going through the legal procedure for obvious reasons to terminate the marriage. But there's a lot of married single people out there where a person is managing everything by themselves. They basically don't have anyone else to turn to. But even though they've had this status of marriage, they really aren't married, meaning that it's not a state of mind. You don't see that other person as your mate. And so we have to kind of take a step back with just the statistics in terms of the numbers of marriages versus how many real marriages there are, which is the union between one person and another. Remember, it's mentality. You know, being married to somebody is a state of mind. There's a lot of people in a relationship who are married to each other, but they just don't have the legal status. And let me tell you, believe it or not, there are a whole lot of divorces that happen way before the ink is on the paper for dissolving the actual marriage. Before the divorce has already occurred. And so I think that we are putting too much into this legal status of marriage, when underneath all of that is more of a mindset. It's more of a disposition. So some of these men are creating their own happiness and doing all sorts of things outside of the marriage, not even including their wife. And it's not a real marriage, so to speak.
All right, Dr. Sabrina, what are your thoughts around men staying? I don't know if it's men staying too long or men staying in an unhealthy situation, or that women will leave before a man will, or even just that a man is settling for a situation that maybe is no longer happy in.
I agree with Dr. Alicia. A lot of people just check out. I mean, they check out mentally. They may be there physically. And that was the question that we didn't pull that onion back. Out of those, whatever the statistic was on the men that stay, how many of them actually have checked out of the marriage, but yet they're just still there? I know people that have done it. I have a very good friend that has done that. Reconnected with someone I hadn't seen in a long time about 8 years ago. And that person was unhappy at that time, but it's 8 years later and he's still there. Okay. He's still physically married to this person. And the question becomes, I mean, you were telling me the same thing you're telling me 8 years ago. Why are you still with this person? You know, you obviously have checked out, but I have to agree with Dr. Alicia. Just because you stay does not mean you're still all in. You can stay and be checked out.
Does that then become settling? I think that now we're getting somewhere. Does that then become settling? If you are in a relationship with somebody and you have mentally checked out of the relationship, you're still on paper, so you are legally married on paper, but mentally you are not married. You have checked out of the relationship. You are doing your own thing, minding your own business. Is that now settling? Nomalanga, you're saying no. Go ahead. What are your thoughts?
So, I think sometimes modern marriage can just kind of involve two people too much and not look at the peripheral things. There are children in there, and like my parents, before my father passed away, had been together for 50 years. You couldn't tell which ones were my father's siblings and which ones were my mother's siblings, because they had all been together for so long and loved each other and been family for so long. And that's just one element. They were also raising children. They had properties together. They had built businesses, and they had shared memories. There's so much that goes into a marriage that when you just reduce it to, I'm not feeling him anymore, and or I'm checking out or whatever. Sometimes you can check out in some parts of the relationship. Like I know couples, especially older couples, sometimes there'll be no sex. I won't say intimacy to try and cloak it. There's no sex, but they love each other. They're connected. They're good friends. They cooperate with each other. And both of them are satisfied by that. And that creates longevity. And again, there's so many other peripheral issues. Is that settling? No. It's
but you said it up
committed.
though, Nomalanga. You said they're still intimate, they're still friends, they're still that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about all that's gone.
Even if all that's gone, they still have children together. They still have in-laws. They still have properties. They still have shared memory. They're still
together for the kids and the memories.
You see, I don't like it to be just reduced like that because you've built it. Okay, let's take it something else. Let's say
all the relationship is gone and all that's all you have left.
Let's say your child makes you mad, right? And is on drugs and is just making your life hell. They don't stop being your child. You don't stop loving them.
You gave birth to your child. We're talking about
yeah, but that's the thing. That's the level of commitment that you're supposed to have to a spouse. You're supposed to join and become one.
So that's what I'm asking.
So
if you join and become one, but you lose all sense of relationship, you should still be in that. That's what I'm asking you. So to your point, there is no more friendship. There is no more conversation. We're living in this house as roommates. So you're saying you've committed to this, stay in the roommate state. That's the question that I'm asking. Even though we have kids.
Yeah, I really don't think it actually boils down to how people make it look. And you usually get people who are not married saying that because sometimes some parts are lacking. But again, if some part of it goes out of it, it doesn't mean you can't bring it back. It doesn't mean you can't work on it and recover it. You don't get to throw the relationship out because some parts of it are lacking. You can actually recover. It could be like, she said a story about somebody had cancer. She was, she's obviously not going to be intimate with her husband. She's not going to show up she's just going to be a person he has to take.
Back to two people who want to be in it. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about two people who want to be in it. One person has checked out. So you keep going back to two people that are together and happy. No, one person has checked out.
The fact that if you don't physically leave, that there's something that you're getting in there. If there's something that you value in there if you're not physically leaving, because men actually do sometimes physically leave and they run off with a younger woman because that appeals to them. Or women feel like, you know what, I have these 5-10 years left of my life and I'm not going to be miserable. And then she leaves. The fact that people stay means that there's something that they value. And no, we don't get to just say, oh, you stay for the kids. No, it's not just kids. It's 50 years, it's 20 years, it's 10 years. It's your sister is now like my sister. She's my best friend and she's been my best friend for 20 years. Her kids are like my kids. My kids are like her kids. You don't just throw away those things and just say, well, him and I, we don't like each other much. I've heard couples tell me, I hate her, or I hate him. And then like a few years later, they're cool. It was a phase. How will you know what's going to come next or how you can recover if you just leave, if you physically leave, or if you throw out your whole family, or you throw out something that you've built your whole life? It doesn't make sense to me.
So then, yes, if it's bad and the person checks out, still stick in there to see if possibly it may
because bad is not permanent.
I don't disagree with you if you have two people that want to do it. I think when you have two people who are like, we're going to figure out how to make it through this difficult time, let's stick in it together and thug it out. Let's go. I think if you have one person who's saying that and the other person has mentally checked out, I think differently on that, because I've seen too many relationships where a woman will bend over backwards or a man bend over backwards to try to appease or please or make this person happy. But like Dr. Alicia said, this person's not happy. And you can't make somebody happy who's not happy. And if they have already checked out, there's nothing you can do. And you're going to run yourself into the ground trying to make this person happy. And that will lead you someplace else. But that's my opinion. We're going to do final thoughts because I know we got to get out of here. I can see my executive producer in the background throwing her papers like, in the show. I knew this was going to be a good conversation because a lot of people are really living this life. And if you're not living it, you know somebody who's living it. I know multiple people, men and women. This is not a man or woman thing. This is a relationship thing. And it runs rampant in all communities, but I see it a lot in ours. And I think that if we can understand this dynamic more and have these types of conversations, maybe people in their own relationships will have this conversation, or even just look at it and say, maybe I shouldn't quit. Maybe I shouldn't give up. Maybe I should go and talk to him about what I'm feeling, or maybe I should go and talk to her about what I'm feeling, or you know what? She was the best that I could have gotten. This is the best situation. I need to stop thinking about my old girlfriend and buckle down into what I have right here, because she is the best. Like I think Nomalanga said. So this conversation has been really, really good. And I hope somebody got something out of it. In our final thoughts, the question I'm going to leave us with is, how can one know if staying is motivated by love or comfort? And or what can they do to have the conversation to bring back the love? Dr. Sabrina, I'll start with you.
Oh man, I knew you would. I needed to simmer on that one for a little while, but I hope I answered that. I'm going to say some things, and I hope I address what you asked. Again, as someone who has been married for 30 years, I can sit here in full transparency and say that I have checked out along the way a few times. I'm sure my husband has checked out a few times. But the question becomes, why did we never leave? You can go to a hotel and check out, but you don't have to leave. You can sit in the lobby and have coffee, you have snacks. Why did we never leave? It wasn't about settling for me. I made a choice to stay. I made a choice. The same choice that I made, the same way that I made a choice when I said I do, I made a choice to stay. It wasn't about settling. We make choices. And you have to ask yourself, for that person who checks out and does not leave, whether that's a man or a woman, why are you making the choice to stay? The reality is sometimes we're evolving. Just because we feel a certain way at one moment does not mean we will always feel that way. Sometimes life has to happen to us to bring us back to reality, to make us go back and look at that person, look at ourselves and say, hey, what am I doing here? So sometimes it's therapy. Sometimes it's reaching out to someone like a Dr. Alicia to get help and to understand who you are and what you're dealing with. And perhaps along the way, that love will return. Perhaps along the way. And sometimes for some people, maybe it doesn't even return, but they still stay. They still stay. They make a choice to stay, not a choice to settle, a choice to stay. My final thoughts. With that being said, I am Dr. Sabrina Edmund Williams, educator, author, and investor. Opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted. I am, so excited, so delighted to be attending the All Black National Conference, where I will be presenting as a panelist on Saturday. I look forward to meeting all of those of you who are in our audience who will be attending the conference. I look forward to seeing you in Atlanta, and I certainly look forward to meeting my fellow panelists who will be at the conference as well. Thank you.
Can't wait to see you in person. All right, Nomalanga, what are your final thoughts? And also just good conversation today. I love Nomalanga is amazing. Sometimes so in these type of environments, like I'm a particular person, and if I don't know you, I won't really like push or lean into you. I know Dr. Alicia well, so sometimes I can like go back and forth with her. I feel like I know Nomalanga well enough to go back and forth with her too. So don't be if you're watching this, like, wait, she's aggressive. No, it's just she's a strong woman, and her views are strong, so we can have a good dialogue and good conversation like that. So that's just to say thank you, Queen, for being here and having that dialogue with me. But let's have your final thoughts. I think you're on mute.
The reminder for the last question, please.
How can one know if staying is motivated by love or comfort? You can answer that, or you can just answer, how do you have that conversation if you start falling out of love and you start easing into comfort? Like, what do you do to bring it back? So either part of that.
Okay, so I've observed from older couples, and I see it in myself too. I think as we get older, one of the most important things is actually companionship. As you get older, and that can look different for look different to different people. I think that's very valuable. I think I love seeing like really old couples still struggling along, holding hands. That's something I value. And if you were to ask me through a rough patch, why are you holding on? It's because that's the visual that I have, that we'll overcome what's happening and we'll be that that couple. In terms of how can you make sure that you overcome these things, or how do you approach those conversations, our culture actually has built into it where you're able to kind of consult with older couples and get advice, get guidance, get input privately from people who've been there and done that and who've overcome, and they can kind of encourage you, they can support you. Sometimes you will tell them things that you think are just, I mean, this is what he did and I'm ready to quit. And they'll be like, oh, we went through that 10 years ago. You'll get over that. And it kind of just, pops your balloon. And I think that's wonderful. I think having a community of people who support your marriage and encourage it and guide you through the process is very, very important. And I think that's what makes marriages work a lot of times. And then, of course, you have professionals who also can help you through the process. I think we should never discount outside help when we're going through tough times, because the most important relationship that you will ever have is your family. It's your spouse, it's your children, and it's the community that you build and the family that you build. So I think you should always give it your all. My name is Nomalanga. I've just changed my last name to Gaborone, but I still go by Nomalanga. I think one day we'll have an episode where I break it all down, because I've been married, but we went through the traditional process just recently. So there's like 4, 5 different ceremonies. Anyway, I am the founder of PassForOurGirls.com. I never get on a panel and don't tell you about the charity that we have here in Botswana. It's a charity for young girls who sometimes miss school because they're too poor to afford sanitary pads. And we actually provide those for them. If you feel compelled to support us, you can go to PassForOurGirls.com, PassForOurGirls.com, and even the smallest donation makes a difference. And I do want to say thank you to those in our audience, and they are there, who continue to support us. So thank you.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. All right. Last but not least, Dr. Alicia, your final thoughts?
Yes, final thoughts for me. Let's be real. Sometimes relationships have an expiration date. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you make a decision to recommit yourself to a marriage and make it work for you. Sometimes you make that very difficult decision to dissolve the marriage. But like I said before, life is a journey and we're all trying to figure it out. And this is what I mean by, no matter what your story is, you could be a single person, you can be a married person, you can be a divorced individual, you can be a remarried person or a married person at whatever age in your life. I don't want to put stigma or shame on one particular status as being above and beyond another status. You are, each one of us, where we are right now with our marital status, it's where we need to be in our journey, and it's okay. So that's how I am as a therapist. I am not committed to a certain outcome. Of course, my hope is always that the relationship becomes stronger. I'm always rooting for the relationship, but I am a realist. And sometimes the reality is that it actually, like Dr. LaNée talked about, it takes 2 to be in a relationship. It doesn't make sense for you to be the only one married in a marriage when it takes 2 people. So it hurts to be sitting on the fence. Anybody sat on the fence, it hurts your butt to sit on the fence. And sometimes you need to decide whether to go get off the fence or whether to go on one side or the other. And if you're struggling with that, you can contact me, coachingwithdralicia.com. I am here for you to walk with you in your journey And I'm not going to judge it. I am just going to be here with your journey. And that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All three of you guys. I mean, these conversations to me are super important. They're super valid because these are the real things that people are dealing with. I like what Dr. Alicia said. Sometimes there really is an expiration date. Sometimes it's best for both people. But other times you really do have to get in there and grind it out. My grandparents were married, I think 40 years before they passed away. And when I threw them a 40th anniversary party, and in throwing that party, I had to go and get stories and I had to go and talk to people. I didn't even know my grandfather was an alcoholic for all those years, for like many years before I was born. And I was talking to my grandma because my grandma she don't play no games, okay? And so I was like, how'd you do that? And she was like, we don't give up. We don't give up. We didn't give up. My mom said, she was like, yeah, it was bad. My mom told me. I was like, I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't see it in their relationship. Like my grandmother was a very boisterous woman and my grandfather was very laid back, low key. He don't really got to say a lot of things. But when he did speak, she did listen. And so in order to get to those years, two of my closest friends, they started dating. We were like 19, 20. And if you know what we go through in our 20s, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how they made it. We're 48 today. They've been together since we were 21, we're 48. So at least 25 plus years. They've been married for like 15 years, but they made it through all of our 20s. And I always look at them like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. But at this grown age of 50, when I look at the relationship, I'm like, man, the things that you have gone through, the stuff that you had to endure, was it settling? Because when I was younger, I was like, there's no way I would settle for that. But at 50, I'm looking at it like, man, look at what they went through to get to where they are. The mind shifts, right, as with age and maturity. So what I would leave you guys with is let your relationship be your relationship. What you can do, will do, won't do, however it is, let that be it. And if you feel like you get to a place of weakness where you can't talk to somebody who has gone through something, because if you talk to a girlfriend or a homeboy who hasn't, they're going to tell you to go. They're going to tell you to leave because they ain't been through nothing. But get you with some people who've been through some stuff, who's had to 90-10 sometimes, 80-20. Sometimes neither one of us got nothing, but we both want to be in this. So we're going to figure out how to make it work. And just because it didn't make it work with your quote unquote soulmate, the mate that you have, make them your soul, and it can work, right? We got to be better about relationship. We have to understand that it takes two to tango. We both have to show up, not necessarily as whole people, but as two people that want to make it work. And then we can go from there. And so I'm Dr. LaNée Javet. I am a Brand Your Brilliance strategist. I work with service-based entrepreneurs who have a brilliance or an expertise that they want to package and sell. I help you to do that. This is Fly Nubian Money. And that wraps up today's conversation on staying in relationships without true attraction. Understanding why these dynamics happen can help us make conscious decisions in love, relationship, and life. Attraction does matter, but so does self-awareness, communication, conversation, and those types of things can prevent resentments and bring you closer if you just open your mouth and talk to your mate. With that, we bid you farewell. Hopefully we will see you in Atlanta at All Black National Convention. If not, go out and have a great day. Be productive, be blessed, and be one. See you guys on the other side.